Hey there, and welcome to Ruck, Buttercup, the podcast that's all about real talk for military spouses and families. I'm Sabrina, and we're so glad you're here.
And I'm Ashley, and together we dive into the ups, the downs, and everything in between that comes with military life. From deployment tips to marriage conversations to PCS chaos, finding your identity and owning it, nothing is off limits.
And I'm Laura. Whether you're folding uniforms, packing boxes, managing the home front, solo, or just trying to make it through another long week, you're in the right place. Here on Ruck Up Buttercup, we share real stories, honest conversation, and practical support for military families.
We talk about the hard stuff, the hopeful stuff, and everything in between. Because military life is anything but one size fits all.
This is a space to feel seen, supported, and reminded that you're never alone in this journey.
So lace up those boots, lift your chin, and let's ruck up Buttercup. Military life doesn't define us. We rise in.
You can also hear us on Read Across America Radio on Women in Media Wednesdays at 11 p.m. See you there.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ruck Up Buttercup podcast. It has been a little while, and I'm sorry, but life is lifing, and we all know military life is chaotic. And most of you who've been listening know that I've been solo parenting, and it's been kicking my butt. We've been a little bit behind with the transition of Sabrina and stuff like that, but we're getting our groove back in. I think I found someone to help me with scheduling and everything. Hopefully we'll be back to doing the multiple episodes a month here. And I'm joined today by another volunteer for Deployed Love. Sara has been a part of our team for almost a year now. And I'm really excited because Sara has some super exciting news that I'm so excited to share with you guys today. But first, welcome to the show, Sara. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Miss Ashley. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I think I'm starting to get back into my group. So I think we're on the roll, and having you on, like, I've been trying to get other volunteers on the show, and so I'm really excited to have you on tonight. So let's first start off with your journey. Like, how are you affiliated with the military community? And we'll dive into your announcement after that.
Okay. Our journey with the military is somewhat different from yours, but my husband has actually been with the military from the Department of Defense for going on 17 years. He's with the fire service. He's currently a district fire chief at one of our installations. My first experience with the military actually was overseas. I was a school teacher in Vicenza, Italy. I taught 10th through 12th grade English. And that has a nice little connection to what we're to announce tonight. So I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah, I taught overseas for 3 years. And that was really my first experience being around the military. We've always lived far off from the bases. So I've never been just immersed in military culture until that. And it was the most fantastic thing, very different than what I was used to. And when we transitioned back overseas, my daughter graduated from Italy from the high school there, and my son was starting high school, so we transitioned back. I taught in public school and realized that I just really missed the military. And so there was an opportunity.
Those kids are special, aren't they?
They just draw you back in. But I knew I didn't want to teach. I was like, I kind of want to try my role at something else. And there was an opportunity at Fort Benning for the military school liaison officer position. And so I took that a little over 2 years ago, and it is growing, and I cannot speak any higher of what I get to do.
I think it's an amazing program. Yes. And we've chatted about like connecting with your school liaisons on the podcast before, because it is really, truly a great way or a great contact, especially during PCS season. That's how me and Sara got connected. I got her number from a friend. Yeah. So I got Sara's email because I was in the process of trying to decide if I was going to homeschool or whatnot. And I wanted to connect with Sara. And so I got Sara's email from a friend of mine who had just PCS to Benning. And I had sent Sara a message, and I was just like, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm transitioning. Are there any resources? Are there any groups on on installation and all that kind of stuff. And Sara quickly responded back. And then she was just like, please tell me more about Deploy Love and all this other kind of stuff. And so that's how we got connected. And so it truly is a really good way to get connected. But they're huge advocates for the military kids in our community. Whether you're being seen off, like your child is going off post or on installation, they're there to help support our kids. And I, as a military kid who grew up a military kid, I think this is such a wonderful program because it does have significant impact. I know my kids have gotten to experience working with the liaisons in the schools. I know my son, when we were at Fort Bragg, they would do a special lunch bi-weekly where they would pull all the military kids in and do a lunch, and they would do activities and just like a safe space for the kids to chat. And I would have been like, man, that would have been so cool to have as a kid and to be able to know that I'm not alone.
And even as civilians overseas, there's a youth sponsorship program that we have, and it's a DoD requirement for all installations. And our kids were able to participate because we were overseas. And I always tell this story. My daughter was a senior coming into her second semester. My son was seventh grade. And they called them ambassadors at the schools, but they had the peers come in and meet them first day and kind of walked around, showed them life, showed them where to sit, how to go about. And I always tell this, even after transitioning back over here, my daughter is a senior at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. She's going to be commissioning as an Air Force officer. My son just
How did I not know she was going to? She was in Knoxville. Oh, that's my hometown. So
she loves it, absolutely loves it. And then my son, he's actually enlisting in the Air Force, and he leaves in September for boot camp. But the cool thing about it, the military community, just because of the liaisons and because of the programs that they have in the schools for our families, my kids acclimated very quickly. But also the cool thing is they still talk to these people.
Yeah.
They're still going and seeing their friends that are stationed elsewhere with their parents now, and they're all staying in touch, and they're all graduating and starting life or starting.
Yeah, DoD schools, or being stationed overseas, definitely is very different than being stateside. I never attended an on-post installation school. When we lived stateside, we were always off installation. Except for the year we were at Benning, I did attend on post, but I was only there for 7 months. Gotcha. But when we lived overseas, it was such a different experience because when we were all military kids, we were all going through the same thing. We were all halfway around the world from the rest of our families and stuff like that. But there were those other programs into place that created community and support and allowed us to do other things than just be classmates. And I think that is where a huge change came in, because I'm really close with friends from Europe. I still am connected. I still try to go out of my way to see those individuals, and I'm almost 40. And so I think that just shows how strongly bonds can be for military kids.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's really great. And so you have spent the last 2 years helping our military kids in the community, and you've had that experience. And so how has that shaped what your next adventure is going to be?
Well, honestly, it started in Italy. I remember the idea was planted over there because of one encounter with 2 of my students. They were sitting there talking, and they were laughing and joking. I remember watching them being like, wow, they have such great chemistry. They've probably been friends forever. And I said, how long have you guys been friends?
2 weeks.
And 2 days. One of them goes, I just met him. I just transferred from Belgium. And I just remember thinking, like, gosh, just the resiliency that takes to be in one place one day and the next already have friends, and just the way that just the kids welcomed each other, and you couldn't even tell where one life stopped and one life started, if that makes sense. They were just so quick to bond. And I just remember thinking, wow, they are so much stronger than what we think, because in our minds, and I've heard a lot of parents say this, is what if we mess them up with all these moves? What if this hurts them because we're transitioning every 2-3 years?
There's going to be built up resentment 100%. And stuff. And I can attest to that. I didn't have that normal military kid upbringing, like where it was every 3 years. It was every year for me. I went to a different high school every single year. It wasn't just from one city over. It was Germany, Texas, Germany, North Carolina. And I did have a lot of resentment, and I decided not to play. I had been varsity softball every single year, freshman, sophomore, junior year. And then my senior year, I was just like, I don't want to do it. Like, why? Why do I don't want to have to go prove myself, anything like that. So there was a lot for me that I didn't appreciate. But looking back, I got to experience so many things that I would have never experienced. I got to travel all over Europe. I would have never met my husband, and we're celebrating 20 years together this year, as well as being married for 16. We have 2 beautiful children, and that would have never happened if I had not moved back my senior year in high school. And I wouldn't have my best friends who I consider family, and vice versa. So there was a lot that came from that overlooked and overpowered the negativity. You said something where you couldn't tell where the one life began, one life ended type of thing. And I think one thing I remember so vividly as a military kid, especially being stationed overseas, is typically you have your little cliques. You have the jocks, and you have the skater kids, and you have the drama kids, and you have the nerd, whatever, however you want to label it, guys, however you want to label them. Yeah. There's all the cliques. And I remember fitting in to so many different groups. I was part of the drama kids. I was part of the skater kids. I was part of the student council and the super smart kids, which they were way smarter than me. I'm always, why were they ever my friends? Because I definitely worked so hard. Definitely feel like I was undiagnosed ADHD and stuff like that. But I had so many different friend groups that I could always go somewhere and know somebody. It wasn't like, oh, dang, I'm showing up and there's none of my friends here because this is not their location, their thing, or anything like that. There was always someone there. There was always someone to be a part of. And I think it was so welcoming. And I think a lot of my military kid counterparts can state that. They had friends in every single friend group, where I feel like our kids in the civilian sector don't necessarily have that, because they're not forced to do that. They're not forced to make friends with other kids so often.
Yeah, they don't move as often. And
yeah,
so
my husband's a prime example of that. He was a military kid, but he grew up not moving as often. He was in the same location from 3rd grade until he graduated high school.
Wow.
Now his family made sacrifices. They did a lot of geobaching. And so that's another thing. But he grew up without his dad being there a lot. But he was there the whole time. So he had his same set of group of friends. And it's taken me so long to be like, you can have more friends. You can have more friends outside of that group of friends that you have. And it took him a really long time to be like, yeah, I can have more friends. I can make friends outside of that group. And
it's culture, right? It's
and
a culture in which it's created, it's celebrated, it's tolerated, whatever. And our kids are the same way. You can't really box either one of my kids in with their group of friends. One kid will come over and you can tell he's a jock, and the next day he's got the theater kid over. They're all just very well blended, and I appreciated that about the military kids, because you're right. Again, it's just a very blended group of kids, and there's a lot of things taken out of the picture and the pressure of kind of fitting in, because they're all in that same kind of situation where you might be there for 6 months, you might be there for a year or 2 years, but I don't know, it was just something absolutely just beautiful to me.
It really is. And as an adult, as I look back, I remember so clearly, I will never marry a soldier. I will not put my kids through this. I hated it. And there were a lot of lonely times, because there was PCSing between all the different years and things like that. My dad was a ranger, and then turned special forces. So he was always on deployments and things like that. And so then there also came a lot of transitions and stuff. And so I do look back fondly of all the friends I've met, and it's so cool to see where every single one of these individuals has gone. I probably am still connected to most of my Facebook friend group is all military kids, because of just keeping up with them. And I have friends who work in government. I have friends who are neuroscientists. neuroscientists, neurosurgeons. I have other friends who are other doctors, lawyers, anything you can think of. They're all doing amazing things. And I think that even though every single one of us would probably say it really sucked at times, it set us up for the world that we currently live in and be able to navigate anything and everything that's thrown our way with grace and humility, and helps us connect to people in a different way than our counterparts, because we've seen the other side of the coin. We've seen,
You know how it is to be the new kid.
we know how it's to be the new kid, but we're also exposed to so many different things that our civilian counterparts are. The amount of different religions that I have been able to experience because my friends were a different religion, or culture, holidays. I have gotten to experience so many different things just because my friends were different. And that's not something that is common for everybody. And so it opened my eyes more so that I could say, hey, this is super cool. I thought there was only one way to think about something, but there's other ways to think about something, or there's other traditions that could be implement into our families traditions. And I think that's such a cool thing that military kids will come and you'll see that they all have a collection of traditions and experiences that have shaped who they are and what they're doing currently.
Yeah. And so many of them have become family. Like all the people that we were friends with overseas, like when we stayed and my daughter came back for college, she stayed with these people. We lived with them when we transitioned back. We have monthly visits with them. We spend holidays with them. They're not just people that we know. They've become family.
Yeah.
And I think even in our job, like my situation, I work with 8 school districts currently. And you said your dad was a ranger. I'm actually transitioning to Camp Merrill, which is our ranger training base in Dahlonega, Georgia, for the school year to build some of their school programs. But I'm constantly in a transition as far as jobs. I'm always meeting new principals, new superintendents, new teachers, new kids, and just so used to that military culture and that ebb and flow. It's helped me be extremely flexible in my own job and how I'm working with families, and the way I assist in one area may not be how I assist in another.
Yeah.
So it's just, I know it's so hard on you guys, but like from the outsider looking in, I'm just in awe of how our families just manage and just are able
as
to
someone
care
who's
so
been a
much.
part of it, like I look at our kids and not all the kids, and I'm just how. So like I had a privilege. This is a new partnership for us, and I won't go too much detail over this, but I had someone reach out, sent me an email, and was just like, hey, it's called Freedom STEM. And she reached out and she's like, I'd love to chat on like how we can work together, everything like that. I'm new at setting up this program. And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll talk to her. We do a video call, and this child, you guys, pops up on my screen. And we were having conversation, and I was like, I have to stop you. I have to stop you and ask you, how old are you? And she was 17. And I was like,
wow,
I thought so.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
she's a military child.
Yeah.
And she is heavily into STEM. And one of her things was like growing up, I wanted to have more STEM opportunities, because even though like military life is great and things like that, there are some things that some of our kids don't get to participate in because they move often, or it's too late to sign up for something like that. I remember that being the case for me. Like by the time I got to enroll for classes and stuff like that, I was picking at the bottom of the barrel to get what was left over, what class weren't full. And she created this, and she turns 18 this month, so she can become she can apply for her like official nonprofit status. And I was like, literally the entire time I was like, yep, I'm taking her under my wing and I want her to go far. She is the sweetest thing ever. She's actually currently right now at a internship with NASA. And I was just like, you are going places. And this is what I love to see military kids do. And so many military kids are going the extra mile and going the next limits and doing things because one, they wanted it when they were growing up, or two, they want to provide that support for their fellow military kids, and it's just in complete awe. Like the entire time I was just like, I can't believe you're 17. Like I cannot believe that you have created this program. You have found some funding currently to help you get out, like starting. You have someone who's helping you, and you have all these amazing ideas, and you're 17 and you have met with people on Capitol Hill, and you have met and you've done all these things. And I'm just, that's amazing.
The sky
That's
is the limit
amazing.
for them. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's been so many, again, they've been through so many doors and been exposed to so much that
I mean, I think,
they're just so brave to try new things. And I just love it. Love it.
and
Absolutely
I,
love it.
and if you are a military kid listening, or if you're listening with your parents, or if you found this, or whatever the case may be, I think that this is a great moment to state that shoot your shot. Go and do what you want to do. Use that experience, because that experience that you have, most grown adults don't have that grit. They don't have that tenacity and that ability to adapt and to overcome
Resiliency. Yeah.
anything. There are so many adults who don't even have a fraction of that, and you guys are set up with that. And so harness that, harness it and use it for hopefully good.
Yes. Yes. For the better of your
For the better,
fellow
yeah,
human beings.
whether
Yeah.
that is going big and going to school and doing that, or doing a trade, or starting an organization, or becoming a part of an organization, there's so much you guys can get involved with. And I think currently the state of the community now, especially with the military community and stuff, that if you are someone who's interested in getting involved with that, there are organizations like Deployed Love where you can get involved and build skills and build your resume up prior to even going to college, if that's something you're interested in. There's ways, and other organizations who have specific programs for you guys to start your leadership journey or entrepreneur journey, or whatever the case may be. And I think that's fantastic that there's so many programs currently for military kids who are wanting to do more. Whereas when I was a kid, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that was it wasn't something that you could have thought about outside of that scope. But I think social media has really played a really good role in that, in helping kids, one, stay connected. Because that was a difficult thing for when I was growing up, was staying connected.
Technology has been a
Snail
really good
mail
thing.
was not always the case.
Yeah.
I've actually connected with friends that I knew before social media, and it's been years because of social media. So social media can be good.
Yeah.
So you were in Italy and you were watching these two kids have this interaction.
Yeah.
What sparked from that?
I think so. I've always been a writer. I have a publishing house that I created like 10 years ago called Wiseman Publishing House, and I'd written a book for parents, and just like a parent guide, and it did really well. And I always was like, I'm going to write another book. And I had been talking about a children's book for years. And watching those two kids, I was like, I want to write something for the military kid. But the problem is, I knew I wanted it to be a children's book, and I can't draw. Like that.
Yeah, I know that's been I want to write a children's book too. And I cannot draw at all to save my life as well.
Well, the cool thing about it, and at the time I just really feel like paths crossed for a reason. I was teaching an English class for the junior and seniors, and got really close to several of them. And I was the community director for something called Club Beyond. It's kind of like Young Life over there.
Yeah.
And so the kids were
I
always
remember
at my
Club
house.
Beyond very, very
Yes,
fondly. That was one of
okay.
my favorite clubs to be a part of.
Yeah, I took them to Scotland, had the
Yep.
best time. My son still talks about it today. We still reminisce about the pictures.
We
but-
went to Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was such a wonderful experience. But our house was always filled with military kids on Sunday afternoon. And this particular girl got really close to her and her family. And right before I transitioned out, I was having lunch with her mom, and her mom was like, "Did you know?" I'll say her name in a minute. That my daughter is a phenomenal artist. And I was like, "No, show me a picture." And she showed me some of her renderings, and they were actually, when I say they were absolutely stunning, I was just like, this cannot be my sweet little 16-year-old that I teach every day, right? That doodles in class. fast forward, I stayed in touch. That's just my personality.
Mhm.
I don't ever say, I just say see you later. I never say goodbye.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And a couple of years down the road, I think I'd been home right at 2 years. I was in my first year as the school liaison officer at Fort Benning. And I just felt just this really strong need to write. And so within a couple of weeks, I had this children's book written out in poetry form, like in stanzas. I knew that's what I wanted. And I was tweaking it, and I was like, I can't draw. I don't want it to be AI. Like, I wanted like that, like Christopher Rabbit, like Peter Rabbit type thing.
That's okay. That's okay.
That.
Yes. Yeah. So exactly.
Yes. So that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be very classical, like classic, just. And one of my students popped in my head. And so reached out to her. This was like June of last year. And I was like, Maya, I've written a book. I want you to illustrate it. And of course she was like, I just don't know. And I said, no pressure. Think about it. A couple of months went by and I knew I needed to do it. I just felt very led to go ahead and continue the process, and had kind of started vetting other people. And I looked at my husband and I said, I want her to do it. Just the experience of her being a military brat. I want her to be able to have this opportunity to have the input in the book. And so I reached back out one more time and I said, I'm not pressuring you, but I really want you to do this. And she said yes in December. And so January of this year, we started just really sad drawings, illustrations that I was drawing her, and I gave her the book and I told her, I said, I want you to read it, and then let's just discuss what this could look like. And there were some really hard moments. It's hard when you can't draw and you're trying to tell an artist
and trying to get
draw
what you want. Yeah.
And so she's drawing multiple drafts, and I'm trying to tweak things and trying to rewrite things, but she brought such a beautiful, just sweet element that I don't think that I could have ever done anything like as far as AI with. And
it is beautifully done, you guys. I had the pleasure of reading it the other day and I cried. I sent Sara a message and I cried because I think it's going to definitely hit those who grew up military really hard too, because of what you captured in the story and what beautiful story it is, but it also shows the resiliency and it's going to show kids that it's going to be okay and they're not going to be alone. I'm going to cry now just talking about it because truly that's all we ever want our kids to feel is supported and loved, and that they're not alone. But the pictures did capture it so well. And I love the fact that she was a military kid too. I think that just brings even more specialness to the story. And so when this episode comes out, you guys, the book will be released. The book is released on July 4th. The episode will go live on the 5th. And so you can get your copy today via Amazon, and we'll link that, and you can find all those links on our social media accounts as well. But it is definitely a book I think every person should have in their, if you're a military family, in your books. And I think this is a great book to read during those hard transition times, especially PCS season, just to remind them that, it really sucks that we have to say goodbye to our tribe. It really sucks that we have to move away from our home. My kids actually, I've always made this an adventure when we PCS. I've always made it like this super fun thing. We will research, we'll pull different things that we can't wait to go see when we get there and get settled. And always made it a really happy. This is happy. I didn't want my kids to ever feel super sad. They were sad to move this time around because they made a really good friend, but I always approach it going, they're not gone. We can call, we can FaceTime, we can visit if we need to. And this family was not military because we weren't near a military installation at our last assignment. And they actually ended up moving 2 months after we did. So I was like, it worked out so well for everybody. Exactly. But having that book and hearing what you're going through on page, I think is going to be so good for families. And I haven't read a book like this. And now I can't say I've read every military child book out there, but a lot of the ones that we have read have always dealt with deployments or like missing our service member. And that's a big part of military life. But there's so much more to that life, and there's so much more that goes to it. And I think this is a great book for family members to read if you have family members who are in the service. So if you're a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, this is a great book to read to have a better understanding on what the thought process and the emotions that military kids go through. I think you really hit it on the nail.
Thank you, Ashley. I think one of the reasons you hear because there is a negative to every positive, right? And I think you hear a lot of the hardships and the hard things, but I really wanted to focus on the really good parts of military life and the skill set and the tool set that's given to kids, the resiliency, the compassion, the love, the hope, the just that warrior spirit. So the heart of a soldier's child. It was my way of telling our military kiddos, not just the families, but the kiddos, that, hey, we see you, and you're doing so much. You're seen and you're heard, and we know you're there. And sometimes we forget that it's not just the soldier that's leaving, it's the whole entire family. And soldier serves, yeah, but so does the family, and especially that kid. So this is just our little way of hopefully sending a little joy out, right? Word of encouragement, but just something for them. I just wanted something for our kids.
Yeah. And I already ordered the book, but mine was Sarah was like, it's live. I was like, okay, cool. But I wanted to actually have it so that way I could post it with the podcast. But I can't wait for the kids to read it, especially Claire. I think Claire's really going to resonate with this right now. Claire's 8 and Devlin is 12. And I think this is the great age group to read this story. I honestly think that me reading this, it is a children's book. It's definitely geared towards that elementary school age group, but even like older kids just reading it to their siblings and stuff like that, I think would be, they'll get something out of it as well.
We need to do a recording where a whole bunch of kids are reading it.
Yes, we'll have to do that.
I think we need to do that. Yeah.
I definitely think we can make that work. We're both at Benning, so we get to see, but I think I'm so excited for this. And I think that this is going to be a great book coming out. I think it's coming out at a great time to PCS season, and it's available on Amazon. So it's something you kids can get fairly quickly delivered. And if you know of a military kid, this would be a great gift for them to have. And what's even better is Sarah's graciously has stated that she's going to donate a proceed of all the books that are sold. A portion of this proceeds will come back to Deployed Love. So that will go directly back into the military community to our families, which we mainly support the family unit, which is our spouses and our kids. And so we're very appreciative of that.
Absolutely.
And will be such a great opportunity to add into our repertoire for our coordinators, maybe do a story time or something like that with the book, or having at events that they can read and things like that. Because I know I host events where I bring books and stuff like that every once in a while. So typically we end our episodes with our guests giving advice to military spouses. But since we've been talking about military kids, let's change that up a little bit. After working with military kids and having your kids grow up in that community a little bit and working with them, what is a piece of advice that you can, let's do this a two-part. What is a piece of advice that you would give to a military kid if they were listening? And what is a piece of advice that you would give to a military parents that can help support military kids?
I'll go with the parent first.
Okay.
It is so easy to worry about the what ifs. Our children are stronger than what we sometimes give them credit for. And this is my word of encouragement. And I think I've actually shared this on some of our Facebook posts with the Deployed Love. They're going to be fine, Mama. I think we need to be gently reminded of that sometimes, that our kids are resilient and they are strong. And our job right now is to give them opportunities for community, but also for them to see you in community.
Yes.
That right there, if I could write a third book, that's what it would be, about the power of community.
Community is so important. You guys hear me talk about that all the time.
Yes.
I was actually talking to Ashley earlier today, because our hiccup on our live today, and we were having the conversation of we need to do and another spouse as well. We need to do an episode on not just why community is important, but why cheering on community is just as important. Like, why being a hype girl or hype person, cheering on others and their success, and making sure that there is a seat at the table for everybody. And I think that's so important in community, especially in the military community. Having a network, having a tribe, whatever you refer to your people, is going to take your experience from feeling like hell to thriving. You will thrive in this community. There's going to be not fun times. That's unfortunate. That is a part of military life. There will always be the unknown. There will always be deployments. There will always be trainings. There will always be late nights. There will always be poor leadership. There's always going to be those issues. But if you set yourself up for success, if you set yourself up with a community in whatever capacity that you're able to do that in, whether you're joining organizations like Deployed Love, or you're going to USO events, or whatever may be at your installation, or to just finding a group of fellow spouses that you are doing stuff with on a good routine. I wouldn't say a daily basis, because that can be a lot, but you don't want to just use and abuse. You have to, it's a relationship, and you guys have to put in work on all sides, but having that built is going to make your life so much easier. It's going to make your life easier when the unpredictable deployments happen, or if there's an injury or whatever the case may be. You're going to be set up for success. And I think Sara has said that actually a lot on a lot of our posts. That is her one thing I see her post is kids should see the community too. And I know for a fact that is something that my kids see because of going to events and getting them involved in events, and they help me at events as well. And I want them to be set up for success, so that way they can thrive too, because I think that community is important no matter which community you live in. Military, I think it's a little bit more important, but I think community can make or break how you view life and how you handle life, especially in those trying times.
100%. Yeah. And so for the kid, piggybacking off of that, I will say this for the military kiddo, never stop looking for the new kid in the room.
Yeah.
Because you will always know how that feels. So
and you never know if you're going to find your best friend. I mean,
you just never know.
You never know. I mean,
don't know.
My best friend, we've been friends since our junior year. She was a senior and I was a junior. Mm-hmm. And that was 22 years ago. And the fact that her son's graduating is going into a senior year of high school this year. And I'm just like, what? Like, how? But she wasn't, and it's so weird because she wasn't even a close friend during that school year. We actually became closer after that year. So after she had graduated, and we had both moved away, and we happened to both end up in North Carolina. Okay. She shortly after I did. And I was so excited to have someone that I knew from previous years that I could reconnect with. And we live states away, but there are times where people think we're sisters just because of like how close we are and everything like that. And I'm like, nope, she's not my sister, but she is my sister at the end of the day. Yeah. Her kids call me, or her son calls me Aunt Ashley and things like that. And I think that you never know what can come of that friendship, or what can come of that, or what kindness of just saying, hey, welcome to such and such. Kindness goes a long ways. And I think that
there's a seat at our table.
Yeah. Exactly.
Our kids seeing that, they will emulate that when they're in new situations. And I think
Exactly.
that's, like I said, I think that's what's has been really beautiful about our military kids. They always have room at their tables.
Mhm.
And so just, start welcoming and looking for that new kid.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show,
Absolutely.
Sarah. Do you have any final words of wisdoms or thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
You know what? I'll read, I don't know if you can see this. I'll read the little
Yes.
dedication
Oh, show
page.
them the front of the book.
Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, this is not that.
Oh,
It's just no
there's-
for sale. But
Yeah.
this is the proof because I've ordered it 9 zillion times. But the dandelion, we all know the story of the dandelion. We'll just leave it like this. It says, "To the military children, this book is for you. Your strength is often quiet. Your sacrifices are rarely recognized. Yet you carry courage beyond your years. Thank you for showing the world what resilience truly looks like."
And that's the perfect way to end the podcast tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will have all the information in the show notes as well as over on our Deployed Love pages and stuff like that. So there'll be links. And we hope that you guys snag a copy for your littles. And like we always say, we're here to support you. We're sharing real stories. We're sharing real strength. And we're along the side of the journey with you. You're not alone. So like we like to say, Ruck Up, Buttercup. We're in this together.